Okay, back again, looking at the 6 different types of synovial joint. Remember, the synovial joint being sometimes referred to as freely movable, and these are ones allowing big ranges of motion based on those specific characteristics we saw in the last video, the cavity, synovial fluid, articular cartilage, all help and make that movement. So, our first one being a plane or gliding joint. We've got flat surfaces against each other which allow them to glide across in different directions. We see that between the carpals in the wrist, between the tarsals in the foot. Alright, next down, saddle joint, a saddle type mechanism. One bony structure sitting across another one. Base of the thumb, we see that, and because of that, we can get your thumb moving side to side, forwards and backwards. Next one down, we've got a hinge joint. Very simple joint, allowing for opening and closing it. Right, so one direction of movement. You've got your elbow, where we get flexion extension, your knee, flexion extension, and whilst it's a bit more complicated as well, you do have a hinge joint in your ankle. Pivot joint, allowing for rotation, where one bone will rotate within another. So you can see that kind of example there. Example we've used in class, radial ulnar joint at the top end, let's use the proximal end of the forearm. We've got your forearm there. Radial ulnar joint allows for this sort of rotation, supination and pronation of the hand. Other good example, cervical vertebrae 1 and 2 sits on top of the head, allows rotation of our cranium on top of the spine. Ball and socket joint, we looked a bit more in depth at this one. Socket of one bone has the ball of another within it, allowing a huge range of movement. So we have the biggest range in these. We can flex, we can extend, adduct, abduct, rotate, circumduct, all happening within there. So the hip joint and then the shoulder joint as well. Shoulder obviously having the biggest range of motion because it's got the shallowest cavity. Okay, it isn't got a deep bony socket like the hip does. And our final example being the condyloid joint or ellipsoid. Here we've got the example where the radius and ulnar meet the carpals at the wrist. So we've got this sort of action of the wrist, forwards, backwards, side to side. You've also got condyloid joints at this first knuckle where your fingers or phalanges meet your metacarpals. We go side to side, forwards and back. So there are our 6 major types of synovial joint, structures of which allow for the different types of movement that we have. And we'll take a bit of a closer look at those movements next time.